Okay, Prabhu. You are light now.
So you want to share those Janata Madhav?
Yeah.
You get the lyrics.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Heart Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Parampara, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Welcome to Wednesday, September 17, 2025. Get together on Bhagavad Gita Charcha, or discussions on Bhagavad Gita. Today's topic is about Krsnocracy, but before that, let's just do a quick bhajan. And then we can probably get started. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. So this is the bhajan that Srila Prabhupada used to always sing, and it's kind of customary that we should do that. Yeah, let's start with we can read. Yeah, we can read the translation, Prabhu. Good. Let's do that, please. Krishna is a lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavana. He is a lover of the cowherd maidens of Raja and the holder of the great hill named Govardhana, and the beloved son of Mother Yashoda. He delights the inhabitants of Raja and wanders in the forest along the banks of the river Yamuna. Prabhupada ki Jai. Yeah, Prabhu, let's get started.
Yes. You want to get started, or shall we stop sharing?
Yes, please.
And there you go.
Thank you, Manish Prabhu, for joining, and I think my mom is also there. Right, so we'll start with Srila Prabhupada Pranam Mantra. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shemate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Then we'll do the Mangalachan prayers from Bhagavad Gita introduction. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savdutam Bhajnasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। Everyone, we can unmute and sit together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. So today, let me open up. Today we'll talk about Krsnocracy. It's a term that I coined. So disclaimers and apologies in advance. So the slides have a certain structure. On the left side, we have a slide identifier and then the verse reference. And the slide identifiers could be a Bhagavad Gita reference, or it could be a definition or a section identifier. So here's what Bhagavad Gita is recommending. It's saying lead a life of devotion of Krishna, for Krishna, and by Krishna. And the inspiration for this title comes from the definition of the word democracy. One of its definitions is it is governance of the people, for the people, and by the people. So similarly, Krsnocracy definition could be it's a life of, for, and by Krishna. And it basically represents Bhagavad Gita's view of a Krishna centered life, one that is based on surrender, service, and realization of Krishna's supremacy. So, if you're going to make an investment into what Bhagavad Gita is recommending, then let's find out what is the return on our investment, the ROI, something that goes well and echoes well with the people in Bay Area, with so many startups and a lot of investment over here. So one thing that Bhagavad Gita is saying is if you follow a life which is still centered on Krishna, it will destroy ignorance. And the reference, so for all of these things that I will be saying today, I will be getting a reference from Bhagavad Gita. So for the reference that we see right now is Eshan evanukampartham aham agyanjam tama nashyamyatma bhavasto gyandipena bhasvata. So the translation for this goes like this: to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. And here I is not I is Krishna. So and how does Krishna do that? We'll get to it. But basically Krishna is already present as one of the two entities into every living being in the material world. There's an Atma and there's an Paramatma. So Krishna already sitting inside our heart knows or is already aware of what our desire is, which is why Krishna is called Bhava Grahi Janardana. So he knows our bhav and also he knows what we deserve based on our karma and based on our kutam, our inclinations, our proclivities. So two things go on to decide what activity or what experience does a living entity go through at any point of time. Kutam, what's in the heart, seeds or to be seeds, and not seeds, but the ones that would be seed next. And what is the current karma that is fructifying, prarabdha. So Krishna is very well able to tweak it if we align with him. Okay, let's go back. So yeah, the term to note over is Am Agyan Jam Tama Nashamya. So from word to word meaning, Krishna is saying, I, due to ignorance, dispel the darkness. The second return on investment is peace from miseries. And Bhagavad Gita says that in Veda verse, Bhoktaram yagatapasaham sarvaloka maheshwaram suhadam sarvbhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 verse 29. Translation: a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So, all of the first part is basically steps to it. Ultimately, the return is one will gain peace from the pangs of material miseries. The words are Shanti Brichati. Brichati is one when one gets something or achieves, and Shantim. So there are no more anxieties, kalmasha, right? Mhm. Another return on investment is, which is really a big one, is living in Krishna. Bhagavad Gita says that as Mayev mana adatsva mai buddhim niveshaya nivashisyasi mayeva atha urdvam na samshaya tu nivasishyasi mai eva. You live in me, certainly. And how does that happen? When you apply your mind and intelligence to Krishna. The translation: just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you live in me always without a doubt. So, why does Krishna say mind and intelligence? As we know, our mm, inner self is made of subtle body, and there is a causal body inside it. So, the gross body will obviously die, but the subtle body consists of many parts, but the crucial parts are both buddhi and mana. Below that is obviously aham, but aham doesn't play a role, excepting in just helping me soul misidentify with the gross body. And while it is the root cause for all material existence, in a day-to-day experience, it is a mana and a buddhi which is deciding how those experiences come. So if someone invests their mind and intelligence into Krishna, then for sure their daily experiences will be Krishna aligned. And that is aligned, then it's just a matter of time before Aham gives away. Because what is the fodder, what is the food that Aham sits on? It is the enjoyment that Aham gets via the buddhi, mana, to the subtle body, giving the experience of the world around and the mana itself. All the thoughts, the vikalpas. So our mana and intelligence, buddhi, are very crucial in realigning ourselves to a Krishna-centered life. Okay, let me go back and share once again. Let's me go ahead. Then The most important return is unalloyed bhakti. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mam yo vetti tatvata so avikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshaya avikalpena yogena yujyate. So there is no, it's like resolute. So one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind, they'll engage in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. Um, why doesn't any entity otherwise go and engage in unalloyed devotional service? Because it's not that they are not aware, but they are not factually convinced. What does factually means? Who knows if Krishna exists, or who knows that he is actually a superhuman, or even if he is a superhuman, who knows that he's at the caliber of God? And even if he's at the caliber of God, why doesn't he liberate me right now? There's so many questions that are left unanswered till someone commits to a path of Krishna centered life. Because most people who are even having such questions or doubts are, they're not unalloyed in their inquisitiveness. So they are not true jigyasus. Let's put it like this. Um, so for one to be factually convinced, they have to commit themselves to a path that will lead you to a Krishna centered life. And while it may not happen like at a like clear cut, there's always, when you step from one boat to another boat, you take one step, you kind of make yourself stable and go on, but still you have to still take a step forward. And that's why very popularly it is said, if you take a step towards Krishna, I'll take 10 steps, but that first step still needs to be taken. And after Krishna takes those 10 steps, you need to take the second step before Krishna takes the next 10 steps, or maybe it could be 100, but we need to keep taking our steps towards Krishna, because a journey is not something that is like a binary switch that you switch on and off. So, Vikalpena Yogena, without division in devotional service, Yujyata is engaged. So, that is our return if we pursue a life of Krishna centered. So, now let's look at the life of devotion. As our topic today was Krsnocracy, a life of devotion of Krishna, for Krishna, and by Krishna. Simply put, it is a service to Krishna, and you transform your consciousness from a ahankar based consciousness seeking pleasure independent of Krishna in the material world to a realigning our ego to true ego, so not ahankar, but true self, which is not seeking happiness in the material world, or rather seeking happiness with Krishna. Now, Krishna may be in the material world too, coming to liberate someone, and he could be doing his Leela. So, it's okay for a Krishna aligned soul to be in the material world, but not in materialism. That is the catch over there. From Krishna's point of view, or even from a Krishna Bhakta point of view, there's not much difference between a material world and spiritual world. For a true devotee or a pure devotee, they're always in a spiritual world or Shuddha Sattva. Anyway, coming back to life of devotion, let's see what Bhagavad Gita gives as references. So, once the most popular verse, my very popular unalloyed devotion, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogkshemam vahamyaham. 9:22. Translation: But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. The keywords over here is Ananya Chintayata, having no other object, concentrating, but concentrating on Krishna. That is what centering on Krishna or Krishna focused life. As Arjuna was asked by his teacher when there were a lot of Kauravas and Pandavas, they're trying to aim a bird on a tree. What are you looking? What are you seeing? And everyone said different scope of their view, but Arjuna only centered around the eye of the bird. So that's what laser focus centering is all about. And that's the kind of expectation in Krsnocracy. So now let's talk about what is in Krsnocracy of Krishna. What does of Krishna mean? Well, everything, material and spiritual, belongs to Krishna. He's the proprietor. Next, he is the source and master of all energies. And then everyone else are is subordinate to them. All are energies. He is energetic, and we are all subordinate. We means all energies combined together, right? Some may be spiritual, some may be material, some may be in somewhere in between, tatastha like us, and jivas. So, what are the Bhagavad Gita saying about this? Well, for one, we are separated material energy. In verse 7:4, Bhumir apo analo vayu kham mano buddhirev cha ahankar iti amme bhinna prakriti astada. So they are separated, bhinna, prakriti, nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these eight constitute my separated material energies. So this is a very gross, I don't know, gross is the right term to use over here, coarse definition of the separate energies um, in the material world, right? Okay, but ultimately from Sankhya, there are 26 classifications, but these is like a very coarse evaluation of the separate energies from Krishna. Then there's also a superior marginal energy, that is the Tatastha Shakti that we talked about. Aparayam itasto anyam prakatam vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. So they verse 7:5. Besides these, O mighty Am Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So while they are superior to absolute dead matter in tamasa, they still are exploiting the resources of material energy. So in other words, while they are superior, they are focused or they're centered on lifeless matter and trying to get some juice out of it. Like you make some amaras, and when you make amras, you can also put that seed of the mango, and once you kind of eat that mango amras, and then nothing's left, so you take that seed and you wipe the side of the bowl, and then you kind of lick it, try to get as much juice as possible. This is the state of the jivas. They're trying to get as much enjoyment possible. It does not matter whether they are successful or unsuccessful or partially successful or successful but only for a short time. Regardless, that is what the business they are into. I'm trying to get juice from Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. But then there is the superior Lord. And Bhagavad Gita is clarifying that in the very next verse. Updasta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti. So, by the way, in the slides, whoever is able to see the video or later on the YouTube, the words that I've highlighted in yellow are the key words out of the entire verse. So in this case, is Paramatmeti, Paramatma iti, Chapyukto, Dehe asmin Purusha para. It's a para Purusha. Purusha is means enjoyer, and there are two types of enjoyers at Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, I think Krishna is talking about. The Jiva is also a Purusha and Super Soul is also a Purusha. But Super Soul is a Purusha by magnanimous proportions, and it's para, it's beyond matter. And also, Jiva is called Purusha only while correlating to aspects within the material world. As soon as we talk about Shuddha Sattva state or something beyond matter into spiritual world, Jiva is not a Purusha. It is only energy that gets remnants like local taxes extra from the real Purusha, which is the Lord, one of the Vishnu Tattvas or Sadashiva or Krishna, whoever that is, right? Whoever this Jiva associated with. So they are the real Purusha. And when they, in fact, even out of them, Krishna is the root Purusha and all other are Bhritya. Anyway, coming back to where we are right now. So Paramatma is the superior Lord, as Krishna says. Yet in this body, there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and is known as the supersoul. So this is kind of proving that, at least from Bhagavad Gita, as Bhagavad Gita is saying, that everything that we can experience, touch, react, interact with is as Krishna as his proprietor. In other words, ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान विद्धि न तो अहम तेषु ते मयि. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, 12th verse. No, Krishna is saying that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, of ignorance, all the three modes, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So, the core thing over here is know that all states of being are manifested by my energy. So, it's not just energy. Krishna owns energy that is manifesting the state. And that is not Jiva, right? So this is about matter. Krishna is ruling or calling the shots, maybe indirectly or rather indirectly only, because Krishna doesn't touch or directly handle matter. It goes through a chain, as in Brahma Samhita it is clarified. When the Jiva has to be born, so-called born in the matter or material world, then from Mahavishnu body, dark, inert, ice-boxed matter comes out, Pradhan, because Mahatattva and the three modes come out, and Krishna through the agency, and all of these transformations are happening through Krishna's form as Kala. And simultaneously, or rather in parallel, Krishna lets this Jiva go out to Ramadevi, who carries it to Lord Shiva, who carries it to with Parvati Devi, impregnates matter, and then with overall it is mentioned as a glance when Mahavishnu, an incarnation of the incarnation of the incarnation of Krishna, when he does this sidelong glance, or rather the glance, that's when Jiva will get its state of existence in the matter world. So Jiva's state of existence or state of sattva, which is not really sattva, temporary sattva, comes into existence through this chain where Krishna is helping manifest all states of being through his energies. So far we talked about Krsnocracy of Krishna. We can go ahead, but let me just ask if anyone has any questions or points to ponder about how Bhagavad Gita is clarifying that the entire existence is of Krishna. Krishna is the proprietor, Krishna is the owner, Krishna is the one who calls the shots there. They belong to Krishna. Any questions? No? Okay.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, do not feel shy. Please unmute and ask or have any comments. You can comment.
And
Prabhu,
today,
the slides are beautiful, and this is a creative way of putting it. Of Krishna, for Krishna, and by Krishna. Krishna is the center, not the people. Yeah. Thank you.
thank you, Prabhu, for appreciating. Whatever I'm doing is just a mercy of Guru Parampara and senior Vaishnavas, all Vaishnavas around me, including you.
Thank you,
But
Prabhu.
yeah, put something together. Yeah. By the way, today is Ekadasi, and is that Indira Ekadasi today,
Indira Ekadashi,
and
yes.
today is also Pitra Paksha, and whoever's observing Ekadasi will get, I think, the same returns as are doing Shraddha for their ancestors. So definitely a great day to participate in all Krishna conscious activities, including giving mercy into this presentation today and Bhagavad Gita Charcha on Krsnocracy.
Thank you,
All
Prabhu.
right, looks like no questions, so we can go ahead. So what are we talking about? Talking about now second part, which is for Krishna. Krsnocracy for Krishna. So what is it? So when you do something for Krishna, what does do mean? Doing means any activity, let's say. And unless our state changes in the material world, we are not able to draw any juice out of the material world. It is through this change of states that we are trying to get some sense enjoyment. So activity is imperative in the material world. But what kind of activity are we talking about in Krsnocracy? So what Bhagavad Gita is saying is act without attachment and dedicate results to Krishna. And this is very important. If you take the first part only, act without attachment, this is the popular way of understanding Karma Yoga, especially back in India. And for a lot of people who read Bhagavad Gita on their own or don't follow some parampara or some authorized guru. But at least in Krsnocracy, it is mentioned just acting without attachment will not really materialize into something permanent unless we also do Krishna Karma Arpanam or dedicate results to Krishna. And that is Krsnocracy's definition of Karma Yoga. Next is all work and offerings can be devotional. So it is better to offer devotional work, devotional activity. But if we can't do that, then I think there's a sequence of verses in chapter 12, verse 8, 9, 10, 11, where Krishna is saying, Hey Arjuna, if you can't do this, do this. If you cannot do second thing, do third thing and fourth thing. So the first 3, 8, 9, and 10 verse talk about Krishna oriented recommendations. But the last one, I think the 11th verse, if I'm right, is talking about if you can't do anything with Krishna involvement, so no Krsnocracy, then do your autocracy. Just be self satisfied, do it without attachment. So rarely does Krishna talk in Bhagavad Gita about something without centering on him. But Krsnocracy for sure, you can say is a subset of Bhagavad Gita. The one that is the real intention of Krishna is definitely talking about dedicating to Krishna. And there, in those 3 verses, I think Krishna is talking about where if you can't think about me or live in me, then at least do Abhyas Yoga. And if you cannot do Abhyas Yoga, then at least do all activity for me. So it's preferable to do activities which are already recommended by Shastra and make it Abhyasa Yoga. If you cannot make it Abhyas based yoga, practice based yoga, then do your nonsense based yoga, material world based yoga, but at least offer it and do it for Krishna. So, how is Bhagavad Gita talking about this? Surrendering of actions. Mai sarvani karmani sanyas adhyatma chetasa nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jwaraha. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, 30. Translation. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. So if you notice over here, what was the words? Mai sarvani karmani. Unto me all sorts of activities, giving up completely, sannyas adhyatma, with full knowledge of the self. And by such a consciousness, adhyatma chetasa. So with such a thing, and then if we notice thing is over here in this translation, we also get nirmama, without ownership, which is exactly what the previous section talked about. Since things are owned by Krishna, obviously when we are trying to do something which is Krishna centered, we should not be having any proprietorship, because that Krishna took away in the previous part of the slide anyway. So we don't have that option. That's why, fortunately, I aligned it as of Krishna and for Krishna, and by Krishna, not for Krishna. So Krishna already took away the ownership of everything. All we can do is carry along. Okay, next verse, next supportive reference from Bhagavad Gita, famous verse. Yat karoshi yadasnasi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat krush mad arpanam, Krishna arpanam. However you do Krushva, what all things? Karosi, asanasi, juhosi, dadasi. So whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to Krishna, to me. Next supportive verse. Mat karma krin mat paramo mad bhakta sangvarjita nirvaira sarvbhuteshu yasamam iti pandava mat karma krin means you do an activity which is, what does the Sanskrit say? Mind, mata, karma, action, krit, do. Do an activity that is my karma, mat karma. Okay, translation. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. Krishna is giving a rain check with no amount written. You can write any amount on that. So best is to write the amount of love. Love for Godhead. If you want to write that, Krishna is ready to do that. But for only one who engages in PDS, pure devotional service, and it should be unalloyed, free from contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation. And unalloyed, unmotivated. So don't do something other than Krishna Bhakti. Don't have a desire for something else as a return, unalloyed, unmotivated. And while doing it, don't stop anywhere, unstinted. So these three words captured also in Bhagavatam as Ayatukya Pratihata, that's two. But basically these three words coin the definition of how one should pursue Krsnocracy. Unmotivated, unalloyed, unstinted. All right, let's go back, 1155. Now let's go on to the next verse. Supportive for Krishna. Karyam iti ev yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva satyaga satviko mata. If you notice, I actually put the word satvika in a different color. That's because this is not per se the Krsnocracy that we're looking for. But if you cannot do pure devotional service, do devotional service. At least you'll get somewhere. And what is the result? We'll get at least sattvic, and that is could be a launch pad to doing PDS. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, 9th verse. Translation. O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done, and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. So renounce the world, and if you're not able to renounce the world to do activity which is Krishna offered, then do it only because two things. It has to be prescribed duty. How do we know it's a prescribed duty? It has to come as based on our qualities. And how do we determine our qualities? How the qualities determined? They get determined at the point of birth, from the past life, and based on our nature, so which will determine your varna, and varna will give a very high coarse classification of what is the boundaries of activities or execution for us living in the material world. So something has to be prescribed duty, but hold on, that's just not it. Just because something is a prescribed duty doesn't mean it needs to be done now. There's one more qualifier, which means it needs to be done. So one still needs to make a judgment call, and this is where free will comes into picture. One could use their free will and understand that something is their prescribed duty, but doesn't need to be done now. A soldier has a gun, which is what they will use in a border, but they now come to visit their home on a small trip, and they carried their gun. And an enemy attacked their home, not an enemy of the country, an enemy of their family. Can he use that gun? Using the gun to protect from enemies is a prescribed duty for this Sainik, for this soldier. But it is not a duty that needs to be done now, because this gun is not meant to be used for self-defense. It is meant to be used for country's defense. So now it starts going to a gray zone. And this is where one's own intelligence has to be used wisely to figure out what action to perform. So qualifiers, and then you obviously renounce your material association and not be attached to the fruit. So for sure, basic karma yoga has to be done. At least try to be as nishkam as possible, and then one can be at least reach the mode of goodness. So not Krsnocracy, Satvikocracy. Let's call it that. Launch padocracy to Krsnocracy. In other words, कर्मण्य एवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भुर मा ते संगो अस्तु अकर्मणि. Famous verse 247. Arjuna, you have a right, or rather, Jiva, you have a right to perform a prescribed duty, but you're not. How we read this one, right? Looks like there's a repeat. Okay, let's continue then. So let's talk
No,
about.
no, Prabhu. That one we did not read.
No, I did not.
No.
Oh, okay, my bad. All right, so then let's go do it. Thank you for being alert. So you have a right to perform a prescribed duty. It was so similar, right? But you're not entitled to the fruits of action. So firstly, Krishna is saying your right to perform your duty. Obviously, previous verse also said you need to understand you need to do it. But then you also you are not entitled to fruits of action. Just because you did something doesn't mean you'll guarantee your return, right? You answered the questions beautifully on a geography exam. But if you answered a history paper, you're going to get a zero, right? So many things get aligned to get the fruit of action. You answered the questions on a geography paper, on a geography exam, giving the geography answers perfectly well. You didn't put your name perfectly wrong, right? You get a zero. There's many a slip between the cup and the lip. A proverb much used back in India, not here in the States as much. But what results we'll get is a different ball game. It's a little difficult to people to understand who don't lead a Krishna-centered life, because we lead a Ahankar-centered life, and therefore we think we are the center of our lives, we are the god of our lives in a circle of influence, and whatever karma I do is for a certain result. So we are trained to do this causal life, cause effect, and the effect follows the cause without realizing there's a big chain of entities involved between the cause and the effect. And what are they? The jiva has a desire, the paramatma evaluates and approves or disapproves it, maya accepts the contract turnkey project to execute paramatma signed desire of the jiva, passes it on to the demigods who execute on it to the extent that one deserves based on the karma and the timing. In Hindi, there's a saying, समय से पहले भाग्य से ज़्यादा. So whatever one deserves at a given point of time based on the prarabdha that is fructifying and timing. So timing and fate combinedly give back one return. So anyway, segue. Please go on. All right. So that ends the second section of Krishna for Krishna. So we open up the floor here and for any questions or any share thoughts or anything. Any question is valid. Otherwise, I will take all the credit of talking on this wonderful Ekadasi day. Anyone talk?
let let me just quickly check if there is anything on the online. While devotees don't feel shy, you don't have to always ask questions. You can always give a comment or appreciate, or any one of those things are fine. You know, because the speaker had been speaking for quite some time, so few words of appreciation will also help. He
Yes.
has taken good amount of pain to go through,
Well,
the
I
700
need to stop
verses
you there, Prabhu. Yeah, it's not
of
that.
Bhagavad Gita and then put it in the slides, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if someone can get some juice out of the compilation, that's great. If someone can
I have
find
a question.
faults, that'll be better.
Oh, someone has something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So how is someone supposed to know what they're supposed to do? Like their prescribed duty? That's my question.
Hmm, good question. How are one supposed to know what they're supposed to do? As I said, going back, it is based on evaluation, timing, time, place, circumstance, samay, kal, paristhiti, and their nature. So four things that determine. Now, samay, kal, paristhiti, time, place, circumstances, we can evaluate and we will be successful or not successful. But good question because it is leading us back to fate part, the nature part. That is not in our hands, at least in this life. We're only creating our fate for the future. But in trying to create a fate for future, we are defeated in trying to tweak it in our current life. So how do you know? Well, you just know because you know yourself. That's how I will say to begin with. But how should you know? One should figure out what is the nature that aligns with the broad classification that Vedic system gives. A Brahmin, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, a Shudra, a Chandala, Malecha, Yavana, or leave aside all of this, a Yadava. So from Yavana to Yadava, there are many slips between Yavana and Yadava. And these, if we can find a broad classification based on our nature, that would help us identify in what zone should we work in. For example, I've seen my own nature. If there's ever an opportunity to lead something, I invariably take a secondary role, and that is my natural state. And if there's any leader who would choose me as their minister, then I love or I feel very comfortable in being a kingmaker. So this is something that you learn over time. In the old times, things were more structured. Invariably, like in Kali Yuga, everyone is born as a Shudra because there's a service mentality to the extent that even matter has gone there. Even businesses have gone there. Everyone's in the cloud business serving someone else. Earlier, they used to send CDs or DVDs of software. Nowadays, everyone's looking for a subscription model because they want to serve you continuously and keep earning continuously, thinking they'll get some enjoyment. But anyway, coming back, while most people are nurtured with a service mentality, we still, at least probably, we have not gone that far into Kali Yuga to have got 100% Shudra mentality. I have seen in my that's my own experience. I've not seen it written anywhere that people still have, to some extent, you can identify their traits of being a Kshatriya Shudra or a Brahmin Shudra or a Vaishya Shudra. They still retain some knack of being a merchant or a businessman or one who likes to administer. So these are things that one can identify. And once you identify what your nature is, you can try to play within that zone because that will work out best for you. This is a recommendation, but hold on. It's a disclaimer. Even if you try to violate it, one is Bhagavad Gita says it's not good to do it, to do someone else's duty. But more important than that is, even if we try to do it, we are so attuned to leading a life based on our body and our samskaras and the vasanas that we will ultimately gear to that kind of a life. So, however hard, stories there, right, of Karna who went to Parashurama and to learn the warfare. And I think, do you know the story, Aname? I think he was trying to, Parashurama was trying to lie down and sleeping, and an insect came and it bit Karna, and I think Karna had tricked Parashurama. So when Parashurama woke up, he saw blood dripping, and then he found out. Uh, he asked Karna, why didn't you cry? And why didn't you do something? Why did you wake me up? How are you bearing it? And then he realized that Karna could not have been a Brahmin because he has to be a Kshatriya. Because if he were not a Kshatriya, he'd not be able to bear that that kind of pain. So there you go. If even if someone tries to trick themselves and try to lead a different kind of lifestyle, which is not attuned to their nature, then it will give away. You can only do what they say, right? You can trick some of the people all of the time at your best, or you can trick all of the people some of the time at your best, but you cannot trick all the people all the time. So our samskars, our vasanas play a very important role in determining our inclination in this life. That's what the pre-seed karma called kutam in our heart, which gives our inclination. How do we act in a certain situation? Stop here. Is that answer okay?
Yeah. That's good.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for asking that good question. Let's go on and go to the third part. So we've talked about of Krsnocracy, of Krishna, for Krishna, and let's talk about by Krishna. So what is it? Krishna is the actual controller and director of all activities. So far we talked about activities to be done for Krishna. Now we are saying that all the activity really, prima facie is carried out by Krishna. And who does all the tasks? His energies do all the tasks. And the energetic is just sometimes not even directing, just get self-directed because they're so aligned towards Krishna, or they're already Krishna citizens. Let's put it like this. Let's see some references. Okay, so this is verse 9-10. Mai adhyakshena prakati suyate sa characharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Let's look at the translation. This material energy, Krishna is saying, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So while we, seeing from bottom up, may see material energy really running the show, Krishna is saying that's nimitta. You're not getting to upadana, the root cause. Who is really running, making material energy run the show? So Krishna is saying they are working, it is working in my direction. My superintendence, my adhyakshin. I am the adhyaksha. And this material energy, suyate sa characharam. Okay, all right, let's go to the next supportive verse from Bhagavad Gita 1861. ईश्वर सर्वभूतानां हृददेशे अर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यंत्ररूढ़ानि मायया. So Krishna is saying that I am the Ishvara, I am the controller, I am the Ishvara of term means controller. So Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. That's the translation. O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living being entities who are seated as on the machine Yantrurani Maya, made of the material energy. So it is made of Maya. It's a Yantra machine. One is sitting inside it, and Krishna is directing it, right? Okay. Let's go on to other supportive verses. Okay, so it looks like we had only two over there on fact that Krishna is really causing all the activity to execute. Now we'll go to another section. We said the topic for today is Krsnocracy, life of devotion of Krishna, for Krishna, and by Krishna. So we talked a little bit about life of devotion, talked about return on investment initially. Now let's see the journey. So the journey for Krsnocracy is from Shraddha to Prema. And we know the steps, we talked about it in various other lectures, but at a high level, one can say Shraddha is faith, is trusting the process and the scriptures. Sadhu, Shastra, Guru. Sadhana, that's the next thing, that is the biggest part of this entire journey. Regulated devotion. Don't do wayward devotion. Um, Guru, that is the Guru Astaka, right? Shri Guru Jana or na kari ho mane asha. So when you're doing any activity, do and do only what what has been prescribed to you. Don't do more, don't do less. Or na kari ho mane asha. Don't try to overdo. There was this person, Kumari Leela Bhatta, if I'm right, from Mimamsaka. So when Shankaracharya was there, he wanted to go and debate with everyone and establish his um, doctrine as the supreme. And he came to my city, Prayagraj. I come from Prayagraj, by the way. And there he caught, I think, Kumar Leela Bhatta trying to challenge Mimamsaka. And Mimamsaka, that person who was the guru for Mimamsaka theory, was saying that, hey, I can't debate with you. And Shankaracharya said, why? I mean, you're here. He said, no, I'm trying to self-immolate myself. I'm trying to finish my body. And by the way, go to one of my disciples in Madhya Pradesh and you can debate with him. And if he loses, then I hereby pre announce that I also accepted defeat. Right? So you can go to that favorite disciples. The reason I bring this story is, why was this person trying to self-immolate himself? The reason is, from their guru, this disciple actually learned more than what the guru was trying to tell them, and understanding that there will be karmic repercussion, trying to atone for that. I won't call it sin, but it is an offense, really not really a sin, to try to do a little more. So in brief, coming back to our topic here, just because someone says bhakti doesn't mean you do wayward bhakti. A lot of people come to a temple and ask them, hey, you have Krishna in your life and that's why you came to ISKCON, and they say, yes, and I do this and I pray to all God. And I'm trying to tell them, yeah, all God, but there's one who's the root. But they kind of happily reconcile to their own version of practice. So it is not regulated, it is concocted. And what is required over here for Krsnocracy is, do regulate it. And who's regulating it? Thankfully, Srila Prabhupada already has a chair that is with four legs, that is doing the four regulative principles, are already regulating devotion to what is expected from us. But bottom line has to be regulated devotion. Anyway, going on to next, there's the stage of bhava, or the emotional stage, where one starts getting the spontaneous attachment. Because we are Krsnocracy oriented or Krishna centered, we're talking about bhava and emotion. There's also the stage where impulses get to mukti. Obviously, there's no emotion there. So mukti, whether through Krishna bhakti or non, gets us to this equivalent of bhava stage. And then, of course, there's the prema, the pure love, selfless divine love. This is the journey. Let's see some references from Bhagavad Gita. Shraddha, Sattvanurupa Sarvasya, Shraddha Bhavati Bharata, Shraddha Mayo Ayam Purusho, Yo Yat Shraddha Sa Eva Sa. Bhagavad Gita 17.3. Translation: O son of Bharata, Krishna is saying, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of particular faith according to mode is acquired. So why is this relevant to us? Sir, please understand your own mode. And if you tend to have, obviously all modes have a competition with each other, and sometimes we may, even the worst person, even Hitler may be sattvic. But prima facie, understand your mode, and if you are in the mode of tamas or rajas, try to move up to sattva stage, and then the faith that will naturally come when we are prima facie sattvic will align ourselves to go on to do Krsnocracy. So understand your mode, and this is what going back to the previous question, one's nature, move to sattva, and then pursue from there. Okay, another Shraddha supportive verse from Bhagavad Gita. श्रद्धावा लभते ज्ञानं तत्परा संयतेन्द्रिय ज्ञानं लब्ध्वा परम शांतिम achirenadhigacchati. Achirena, immediately, very quickly. But you have to have that faith, Shraddha. 439. Translation. Krishna is saying, a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Shantim, Richati earlier, and over here, Param Shantim, Achirena, very soon, Adhigachati, Gacha, go, reach, attains. Okay. Right, now let's see some supportive references for sadhana. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukha. Yoga. What is yoga? This is verse 6, 17. Yoga, practice of yoga. And what is this? Translation by Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada. Saying, Krishna is saying, he who is regulated in his habits of eating, regulation, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga. So you have to have regulation. We talked about it earlier. Also, Ishopanishad has a verse, right? One who pursues science and nescience together in parallel will be able to achieve. So we have to survive. We cannot live in a fool's paradise. I am not the body. I don't need to eat food. Food is going to matter. Body, I am soul. Sir, soul, no soul. We cannot survive in 1 second from this body consciousness. So till we reach the state of Ananya Bhakti, pure PDS, pure devotional service, we have to regulate our material life, aligning it towards Krsnocracy. All right, let's go on to some more verses. तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीति औदेश्वर भावाति भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन माम upayanti te. So Krishna is saying, I will give you the intelligence, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Right? By which you can come to me. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to. How does he give it? The shining torch of in his heart. Anyway, that's separate. Let's go on to Bhava stage. So, supportive verse for from Bhagavad Gita for Bhava. Vitarag bhaya krodha man maya mam upashita bhavo jnana tapasa putama madbhavam agata. Bhavo jnana tapasa. Bhagavad Gita 4:10. Being freed from vitrag by krodha, attachment, fear, anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. So this is like a bhava stage. Many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So one can argue that, hey, it is talking about love, and therefore it is prema. Well, it depends what kind of a love. One could be in the state of shanta, and they will probably not go beyond unless they are Krishna oriented beyond the bhava stage. So this is a stage of bhava. Another verse, 1154. Bhaktva to ananya shakya aham evam vido arjuna Gyatum drashtum cha tatvena pravashtum cha parantapa. See the verse. My dear Arjuna, Krishna is saying, only by undivided devotional service like Ananya Bhakti can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Why is it a mystery? Because Jiva has only sattva as its, you can say, rightful claim. Why? Because that's the nature of the soul. However, Chitta and Anand is not per se the nature of the soul. So, soul in its purest form can exist for eternity, but it cannot have an interaction with any kind of personality of Godhead, whether Sadashiva or Vishnu in Vaikuntha or Krishna. For that, we have to do personal bhakti, Krsnocracy, and that's when the personality of Godhead, whoever is our Ishtadeva, I won't say Deva, Ishta, will invest their Swarupa Shakti and get the Chitta and Ananda start manifesting in us. So we have to not only apply for that position by an undivided devotional service, but we have to get to a state where we can get into the mysteries of Krishna's understanding. And this is mystery. Why? Because this is not the nature of the soul. The nature of the soul is to be capable of being Satchidananda. Sat is its nature. Chitananda has to come from the other party only when we submit and surrender. Let's go on to Prema. We discussed some of the Prema and Bhava stage. So 1865, Man Mana Mad Bhava Mad Bhakto Mad Yaji Mam Namaskar. Mam Evishyasi Satyam Te Patitane Priyosi Me. Priyo, you're dear to me. Then, dear Arjuna, if you do this, T, B, N, P, T for think, always think of me. B for become my devotee, B for bhakta. T, B, N, N, do namaskar to me, worship me. And P, offer your homage to me. So it's a good acronym. I mean, I count it for myself because I'm getting so old. T, B, and P for think for me, be my bhakta, namaskar, and do puja to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you, because you are a very dear friend. So this is how Bhagavad Gita is recommending stage of prema. And no wonder that this is stage that comes when Krishna talks about guhyatamam knowledge. This is why it is called mysteries. Right? So previous verse said you'll enter into mysteries. This is the mysterious part. Okay. And then, yeah, living now. Next section. But before we go on to next section, pause. Any questions or any points, any reflections? Otherwise, we can go on to our last section and then maybe we can talk after that. Maybe let's just go on. So, how do you lead your life daily in Krsnocracy? Or rather, in short, bhakti in action for Krsnocracy. So, what is the action item for us? One, incorporate bhakti into our daily life, whether it's cooking or working or speaking or giving mercy by conducting the Wednesday session at ISV through Zoom, or making every act as an offering to Krishna. All of these things. Thank you, Ashramada Prabhu. So, references. One is we can render service. How do you render service? Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, 10th verse. Abhyas. We talked about this Abhyas Yoga. Abhyase api asamartho asi. So, if you are asamartha of Abhyasa, if you are not capable, mat karma paramo bhava madartham api karmani Krishna karmarpana. Kurvam siddhim avapsyasi. What does Krishna say? Translation. Oh dear Arjuna, if you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you'll come to the perfect stage. And from that perfect stage, Sattva stage, is where you can launch on to Krsnocracy stage. Okay, let's go on. Another verse, 929. Samoham sarvbhuteshu name dvesho asti na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maitateshu chapyaham. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. Krishna is saying, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So, what do we need to do? We need to render service to Krishna in devotion. And if we do that, that's our action item. To service as a friend or as a person who's closely associated to Krishna. And when you do that personal service, then Krishna will be a friend back. So Krishna reciprocates. And that's the beauty about Krsnocracy, the Krishna consciousness. Another thing, how do you do this? So, okay, so Krishna, we got this far. I have to render service. How? Give the example. So Krishna says in 926, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yom bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktopaharatam ashanami pratatmana ashnami. Take in, I digest, I accept, or I imbibe is not the right word, it's just accept it. If you do what? Bhakta upaharatam. So Krishna is saying, even offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water. No McDonald's, by the way. I will accept it. So stuff that Krishna accepts, he rules. He is the Ishvara. He controls. He is the Ishta. He decides what he wants. And this is what he said. Leaf, flower, fruit, or water. So then Krishna will accept it if we do bhakti upar, offer in devotion, pratatmana, from pure consciousness. Okay? From one who has good consciousness and is doing in love, then Krishna will accept it. Okay, now comes the last part. So how does Krsnocracy compare with other paths? A comparative analysis. So let's compare it to Vedic paths. Is the paths, so there's a table over here and the paths are in the first column. So if bhakti is the path, which is the Krsnocracy, I put bhakti here for because it won't fit otherwise. Means when we do surrender devotion, lead a Krishna-centered life, then the goal is love of Krishna. Let's say dhyana. If someone does dhyan, then they are meditating preferably on super soul. Some people tend to meditate on non-super soul. There's a recommendation by a very famous yogi who said, hey, you can take a piece of stone and call it Ram Ram, and your mind will chitta nirodha. You will be able to calm your inner self. Yes, that may happen to a great extent, but not fully, unless you meditate on a person somewhere or the other, maybe later in your life. So once someone does genuine meditation on super soul, then the goal is Paramatma realization. Of course, we can do jnana as our path, and if that is the case, the means is we have to do knowledge, acquire knowledge, or realize knowledge. That's probably the better way to do it, and renounce our worldliness. So if you do knowledge and renunciation based life, then we'll get self-realization. And if our path is that of karma, then we have to do duty without fruitive desires at the very least. So at least we can purify ourselves. There's a term called puraschana, purascharana, puraschena. So if we do that, then we'll be able to purify ourselves and come to the platform where we can get to the other three goals on the top three rows, where we can at least go out of the world. So karma in itself, however well you do it, cannot take us out of the world, even though people may claim out of the world experience. It really is jnana or dhyana or Krsnocracy, bhakti in its pure form, which can take us out. So this is a comparative with Vedic paths and some supportive verses. Tapas, so this is 646. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi jnanibhyo api mato adhika karmibhyaschadhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So Krishna is saying a yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. But hey, what kind of yogi? That Krishna is going to talk about in the next verse. 647. Yogi namapi sarvesham mati madgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktamo mata yuktama, extremely yukta, associated. Let's go on to the verse. Maybe it's easier to read the translation. Of all the yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my matha, my opinion. Okay, so out of all the one yogis, the one who is mat gaten anta atmana, abiding in me, always thinking of me within himself. How? Shraddhavan. So Shraddha is the starting step. Shraddha doesn't end at the first step. Shraddha is something that is needed in our sadhana. It is needed at the time of bhava. It is needed at the time of prema. But the Shraddha's flavor changes. When we start with Shraddha, it is basic Shraddha. But when one is doing Shraddha at Bhava Prema stage, then the Shraddha is maybe on the reciprocation of what Krishna will do. And there's always an element of doubt because we are all independent beings, right? Swatantra. So there's a story about Radharani, and I think Krishna promised that he will give in charity to some Brahmin who wanted to get his daughter married. And I think the idea was that Radharani's weight in gold will be given. And Radharani sat, and all the gopis took out their jewelry and they were trying to balance. But Radharani was heavier than all of it. And then at that point of time, Radharani is looking at Krishna to see, is Krishna going to take out his gold ring to free Radharani? Otherwise, instead of gold, Radharani will have to be given in charity to that Brahmana. So, if I remember the story correctly, ultimately Krishna, after good bit of animated suspense, took out his ring and put it there. And once he put it there, the balance swung in the favor of gold and Radharani was freed. So why am I bringing this in? That Shraddha is faith in what will be dependent on what situation, and even Radharani having faith but still relying on Krishna's free will to see what will Krishna do, because ultimately everyone is swatantra. In fact, if we really want to get down to very minute details, of all the entities in the spiritual material world combined, the entity who is the most paratantra is actually Krishna. If we reach, if with a double F, we reach that end stage where we can make Krishna sign the blank check, having followed a life of Krsnocracy. Once that happens, then Krishna becomes Lattu. And that's how the gopis were saying, hey, Krishna dance. And then Krishna is dancing as a baby. And his mother and father expecting him to get slippers for his dad, and he's carrying it on his head. So gopis are still Swatantra, but Krishna is now Paratantra. He's dependent on the wills and whims of his loved ones. Okay, let's try to end it now, I think. Yeah, almost second last slide. So let's compare Krsnocracy to non-Vedic paths. So in this table, Krsnocracy, the approach is endearing service to a personal God. Christianity is not the endearing service or loving service, but it's faith in a personal God. And Islam is submission to a God's will. And by the way, a personal aspect is missing there. Although expectation is there. Then Buddhism is no God, liberation without detachment, right? Via detachment. And just take the path of humanism, right? Ethical life, virtuous life, high quality life, but without any kind of God perception. At least in Buddhism, there's a concept of someone, some entity being trapped in this world with karma, cycle of samsara, and trying to liberate, and then basically realize your bodhisattva. So at least you are it. Let's put it like this. In humanism, there is no it. Just keep doing with your physical body. All right, let's see what are the supportive verses from Bhagavad Gita for Krsnocracy to do endearing service. So one is 12:20. What is Krishna saying? Ye tu dharmamritamidam yithoktam paryupasate shadhana mata parama bhaktaste ativa me priya. So you will be my dearmost. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service, who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Bhakte ativa me priya. Ativa, extreme, very, very. People with Hindi background will understand that term maybe. In Sanskrit, of course. Next, Krishna. So this Krsnocracy is not insular. It is not bound. It is open to all. Just because we are saying off for by Krishna, it has a very, very low bar. 716 verse. Chaturvidha bhajante mam janasu kritano arjun arto jikyasu artharthi jnani cha bharta sharva all welcome. Anyone can come. Okay. Of best among the Bhartas, four kind of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. Right? So no humanism and Buddhism here, but distress, desire of wealth, inquisitive, someone searching for knowledge of the absolute, all are welcome. Okay. So it is open to all. It's impartial to all. It's Bhagavad Gita supporting it by saying, Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Che Swa Pakecha Dog Eater Pandita Sama Darshina. 5:18. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned, a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater outcast. And the results are permanent, satta, that has a state, it has existence. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina 259. Raso varjam raso apyas param dastva nivartate. So Krishna is saying, if you get rid of your current material entanglements, that's not permanent. Unless you get a param dastva. If you get something higher, that's when, though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, a taste for sense object remains. But seizing such engagements by Krsnocracy, the taste of Krsnocracy, he is fixed in consciousness. As they say in India, melody khao khud jaan jao. Do Krsnocracy and get to know it yourself. And I think the last slide, there is a fallback plan too. What is the fallback plan? Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labate parvadeikam yatate cha tato bhuya samasiddhau kuru nandana. Buddhi samyogam labate parvadeikam. Previous life. So translation, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine. So what about this? This is where Krishna, Arjuna asked, what happened to someone who, while doing the best bhakti, like Bharat Maharaj, got a video game, an AI based deer in their life, and then they fell in love with an AI based program. And then what happens to them? So Krishna said, don't worry, I have a plan B. On taking such a birth, when you're born again, you will revive your non-AI consciousness, divine consciousness of previous life. And he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. Oh, son of Kuru, that's what Krishna is saying. Okay, so I think with that we can end with slide that says ask and share prasada. So ask any questions. You have exactly 35 seconds, whatever. I don't know how many seconds are left in this call. So, and stop sharing. Thank you for the opportunity. And anyone has anything to ask or talk or share or raise, please
Hare
do.
Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you. Sorry, Prabhu, for interrupting.
Yes, Prabhu.
Uh,
That's it, Prabhu. I'm done. Thank you.
yeah, I was
Please.
just asking the
Yeah,
devotees in
apologize for
the.
any mistakes that I made. I'm sure there are many. And if there's anything good or worthy of being appreciated, please note. It comes from blessings from bona fide Guru, my Guru, all the senior Vaishnavas, all my Siksha Gurus, and the Guru Parampara, going all the way to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his entire entourage.
Yeah. Wonderful class, though. You kind of, went through the whole gamut of things, all kinds of faiths. You included even the both the Abrahamic and the Brahmic faiths. Everything you included, and even beyond that, humanism. I don't know. It falls where basically. It's a completely new modern creation.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a modern creation, and it is working. Actually, it is also spreading like wildfire.
Never know. This is Kaliuga. Anything,
Yeah,
nothing succeeds like success. Anything that is successful because of some past reasons.
yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Ashramada Prabhu. Really appreciate
Thank you.
your patience. We have been doing this week over week over week for endless years. As many hairs are there on the head, that many years probably
My
passed away.
hairs are falling.
That's because every week there's one lesser lecture to
No, the lectures are the reason why I come and host.
Thank you for giving the
Exactly,
opportunity, not only you, but everyone who is in the organizing committee. Thank you. I think
Thank you.
Prada and whatever everyone. Really
Thank you, dear devotees who attended also here in the Zoom call and online. I'm sure there are people who are listening to your wonderful lecture, wonderful content. Thanks a lot.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatavarcha Kripa Sindhudevacha. Patitanam Pavane Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
विजय दामोदर प्रभु की
Ah,
जय,
Jai
श्री
Shri
प्रभुपाद
Prabhupada.
की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear devotees, taking time from your busy lives and joining the online only class the Wednesday. We do have class on Saturday morning and Sunday evening in the temple and online. And next week again we'll meet online only class. I think Ramananda Sakapu will most probably post.
Oh, yes. And this is Vachika Maharaj's Vyas Puja weekends.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Eagerly awaiting the
on Saturday morning.
the event. I think the entire ISV and entire world is watching, waiting for it.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, dear devotees. We'll now close the session.